This is Liz.
This is Jade.
And this is Carly. And you're listening to
Babes
and Babies. Yeah!
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Okay, so I was watching the Bachelor in Paradise episode, and I died at the clip when you guys all put your hands up after each other, then all got a drink.
Oh,
I was
my gosh.
laughing so hard. It was the best.
It was such a funny thing to film.
It was.
We can give you some behind the scenes action.
Yeah,
First
I
off,
would
it was
like
really fun to watch. They did a really good job.
It was cute. I wish they would have shown more of our shenanigans because we really did just have a blast.
We did.
Yeah.
But the funny part was okay, so we went on this date, right? But we really didn't get pampered. They buffed one of our nails.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like we were getting a pedicure and manicure. They buffed one nail. We had 3 bites of food. We each didn't have a jet ski. We had one jet ski we shared for 5 minutes out each time.
We weren't allowed to actually drink our champagne before the jet skis either, so we didn't actually get to drink until that scene was over.
So we only got one drink, and that was after the jet skis, and that was the last thing. So it was let's take a drink, and then let's go back. So
it was a typical bachelor date where you don't eat your food. You don't really get to do that much fun stuff.
Yeah. And on Bachelor now, there's a 2 drink per hour. So, we didn't even get 1 drink per hour, but it was really funny. We did have a lot of shenanigans. We played chicken in the pool. We
Lady in the tramped our food.
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, that was so gross, but hilarious.
Gross. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Tanner went psycho on the jet ski with me. He was that was scary. He was he thought he was Superman or something on this jet ski, and he would plow into waves. The crest of the wave would come up, and he would plow into it, and it wouldn't hit Tanner. It would just hit Jade. My whole butt would go off the jet ski, and
it was so scary to watch.
Thank God I have some kind of balance, because otherwise I think it would have thrown me right off.
Yeah, it was really scary.
Into the waves, into the sharks.
I don't like going fast on jet skis at all. I'm such a grandma.
I kept telling him, slow down. And then he was just he just wanted to have fun. He's like, when's the next time I'm going to be on a jet ski? I'm like, I hate you.
Oh, God. I had never been on one, and I don't ever want to go on one again, especially if Tanner's driving.
Oh, my God.
It was so scary.
It was scary.
But being in Paradise was pretty crazy to be back.
Yeah.
Walking down the stairs and having all the memories flood, and the heat. You're oh, I remember this heat. Yuck. That was pretty. Yeah. And then all the people's faces looking at us oh my God, success stories. But then you're I'm so sorry that you're here and it's gross. And lots of you are going to be broken up with. And I'm also sorry about that.
I couldn't look them in the eye being we have such a great date plans. And then knowing that it wasn't for them. And they were so excited. Joe's face. Did you see it when we were and
yes, it was
actually,
so sad.
You're not going on the date. And he was still trying to smile, but it wasn't a good, it was behind the face, it was I want to kill you.
At least they got to go. Not that they had a great date afterwards. They just kind of went out and sat on a beach, and I guess. But
I talked to Kendall.
At least they got to go out.
She said they did get to go into town still. They just didn't show that part. So they did have more of the date, she said.
That's good.
Because I was I'm so sorry. She's no, it actually turned out really great. So
it was so funny. We saw Kendall the other day at Good Morning America. They were they had a few of us come to do an obstacle course, and Kendall is the sweetest. I love her.
She
so
seems
nice.
Sweet.
Yeah,
she's so sweet and real, and I will be her friend.
Yeah.
There's some people you're oh God, I don't like you. No, I really like her.
Yeah.
I was yes, we made the right choice.
And her I like that she is actually kind of weird in real life. It's not
totally weird.
Obviously they play it up, with the taxidermy stuff, but she's still got that quirkiness in person, and I like that. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We were sitting at a brunch and she was like talking about all of these like murder documentaries that she watches.
Oh my God.
And she was like, have you seen this one? And I was like, no. She's like, oh my gosh, you have to watch it. And then Taylor was with her and she's like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I have a baby. I can't watch murder documentaries in front of my baby.
Right? Oh my goodness.
It was so funny though. I was like, oh my gosh. And it like, there's like this infatuation with like the dead, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I loved watching all your guys' Instagram videos, though, for the Good Morning America. I actually didn't watch the show. So then when I was like seeing posts and stuff, I was like, wait, what? What's happening?
Oh my gosh.
It did look fun.
It was fun. Well, Evan was like, hey, do you want to go on Good Morning America? And I was like, yeah, okay. For what? And he's like, oh, well, they're telling us who the next Bachelor is. Oh, that's so cool. We're also doing an obstacle course. Okay, yeah, no, I don't want to go. Because I had these flashbacks of like The Bachelor and like the mud run we did and how horrible I was.
Stupid
and I was like,
dates
we
they
have
make
to
you
run.
do.
I was like, I'm not. Ugh.
That was intense, though. That was like a serious, what was it, like 1 mile obstacle course? You guys had to actually, I couldn't believe that that's something they actually made you compete in. Like, that was not
in
just.
wedding dresses.
Yes.
In the mud, so they weighed like 100 million
Oh my
pounds.
God.
Yeah, that was horrible. So I just kept having like flashes of that in my head and being like, even like more people watching it in the morning and being like, no, I won't. But it ended up being fun. Jade and Tanner were a human wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
I had to do like the bat where you like put the bat down and you spin around it, and then you potato sack race to Jade and Tanner, which I was very bad at, but Jade gave me tips, so I was slightly better.
No, you rocked it.
Well, I saw you guys won. The couples won, right?
We did.
We did.
That's awesome.
We did
Which
win.
is funny because honestly, Tanner and I were talking about it. We were like, if you looked at the couples team with a married couples team and then the single people's team, single people were all fit.
Super
And
fit.
then you look over at all the married people and we're just all like,
Wah, wah.
we look like we've let ourselves go a little bit. We're pretty comfortable with ourselves. And
I realized when I put like their shirt, they gave us shirts. When I put my shirt on and then I put my leggings on, I looked in the mirror and I realized you've let yourself go a little too far. And I wasn't happy about it. It really
but
wasn't.
you know what? We won because
We did win.
because we already have the teamwork because we're couples, right? That's
yes,
what I'm going with.
true.
Yeah.
We did work
No,
really
that's
well
what
together.
Jade said.
And Evan
She was like,
kicked
it's about
ass.
communication.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Evan had to put his hands in this cake and find this giant ring.
Yeah.
And he like plowed into the cake like he was a 1-year-old. And he even ate some of the cake. It was insane.
he crushed it. It was a
He did. He literally crushed it.
It was a 3-tier layer cake, and it had this ring in it, which was probably like, I don't know, the size of a tennis ball. And he just went like, whoa, and just found it instantly. And we crushed it. We killed him.
Nice.
It was so funny. Oh my God. So afterwards, Evan's like, gosh, I'm so mad. I had such a good line and I realized it way too late. And I was like, because he was against Nick in the cake. And they were like, you know, how do you feel about winning or something? And he wanted to say, well, the only problem is I feel sorry that Nick's the runner-up again.
Oh.
He's like, why didn't I use it? I'm like, damn it, Evan. It was a great joke.
That was a good one-liner.
Yeah, it's really
So funny.
If you're like me, then you know how hard it is to find the perfect bra that looks good, feels comfortable, and most importantly, fits great. Well, I stumbled across a brand called Le Mystère recently. They have a celebrity following for more than 20 years, and now I know why they design the most beautiful lingerie that looks so stylish and actually feels amazing. Finally, you don't have to sacrifice sexy for fit. You can actually have both every time I put on one of their bras. It instantly lifts my bust line and I literally feel transformed. And beyond the incredible products they offer in sizes A through H, I also love how accessible they are. They are sold at the finest retailers like Bloomingdale's, Dillard's, Saks, Lord & Taylor, where you can have a one-on-one fitting with one of their brand ambassadors. But if you're crunched for time, like, hello, most of us, you can schedule a Skype fitting with a certified bra fitter on their website at lemystere.com. Plus, 50 of our listeners can get a free Le Mystère cosmetic bag with their purchase. Go to lemystere.com/gift add the bag to your cart, add your other purchases, and then use promo code BABIES to knock that bag price to $0. That's LEMYSTERE.com/gift and promo code BABIES. Discover Le Mystère and discover you transformed.
So I saw like a bunch of the posts though. How do you guys feel about them announcing Colton as Bachelor?
So I get why they picked him. I do. I honestly, like, if I wanted a Bachelor for myself, I would have probably picked Jason. But I'm meeting Colton in person. He's actually, like, really genuine and nice. And
I agree.
Once you, like, humanize them, because we see somebody as just a character on TV. And once you meet somebody in person, it's just so different. And so now I'm like, I really do hope that it goes well for him. And then there is a woman that they pick out, that he'll find his person. I do. I know a lot of people are outraged, which is so interesting to me because I just don't fully get that. Is it
just the Tia thing that they're super mad about? Like, why are they so outraged? Because, I mean, you can not like someone, but I don't understand why the outrage. Like, you didn't do anything horrible.
Yeah, I think it's just because so many people wanted Jason, to be honest. He's pretty, he's classy. He kept it classy. He's good looking. He's, like, very articulate. I feel like he's a little bit older. So Colton's 26. So I think everyone's like, he's a young Bachelor, but so is Ben Higgins. He was 26. Yeah. So I don't know. And I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I did not think it was going to be Colton at all. That wasn't even in my radar because of
me neither.
All of the stuff on Paradise with him and Tia. I just didn't think that would even be a thing.
Right.
Yeah. But they did that with Nick.
Yeah, very true.
Because he was with Jen, and then they were like, all of a sudden, he's broken up with Jen, no reason. Oh, he's the Bachelor.
Right.
But I think it's like Tia and Colton's relationship, though, played all through Becca's season and then through Paradise. Yeah. Like, it was just...
And it was so much drama associated with it that it's almost like you're getting a drama-filled Bachelor. Not that you are, because I just think he kind of got stuck in a corner. Like, there was this thing with Tia happening. I think he did go on Paradise to try to date her and see if it would work. I just think he was, like, not feeling it.
Right.
And then he felt bad and he didn't know what to do. So he's like, okay, let me just really try. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, oh, man, I'm, like, really in trouble here. Like, and then, she was saying things like, well, you need to go find yourself. And part of me is like, he just doesn't like you. Yeah. Like, if like,
that's
it's not
exactly
about him
what I said
himself.
To Tanner. I was like,
yeah.
As much as I love Tia, it was just like, girl, it's not that. He doesn't need to go find himself. He's just not that into you. And I hate saying that, but
I know, me too. Because she's like such a catch.
Yeah, I think that's what he realized. She was perfect on paper. She's a great human, she would probably be a great wife and a great mother, and he knows those things. And he was trying so hard, and he just knew in his heart it just wasn't going to work.
Right. Yeah.
No, I
but
agree.
That sucks,
really sad.
Because
that
you don't want
breakup
to
was sad.
Yeah, you don't want to see people hurt. That is hard. And I think that's why it was hard for him too. He didn't want to hurt her, and he knew he was gonna.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think that he wanted to give it a shot and tried really, really hard, and he just wasn't into it. So
yeah.
Yeah, and it, part of me was like, oh my God, this reminds me of me and Kirk, because he just like blindsided her. But Kirk had a girl at home that he was thinking about, and Colton didn't. He just wasn't that. He didn't have an excuse.
But but Colton was reserved from the beginning. He's like, I'm going to give it a try.
Oh. You went out, Liz.
Sorry, I'm using Vito's iPad, and his mom just tried to FaceTime him.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Do not edit that out because that's hilarious.
Oh man. So I had to decline it. No, but
sorry, Vito's mom.
I know. But the thing though with Colton, he was reserved about it from the beginning. Then he's like, I'm really going to give it a try. Whereas I feel like Kurt, he acted like he was all in.
Yeah.
Like Colton never acted like he was all in. He's like, I'm going to give it a shot. But he wasn't like, I love you and see a future with you. He was like, I'm going to see if I can see a future with you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He did say that.
Yeah.
Like he was
Kirk, he was leading you on at least. Right. Or all of a sudden just had this, I don't know, because he was, according to like what's been said on Bachelor in Paradise, this whole season is all in. You know, he was all in. And then all of a sudden he was not. You know, that was like what Kirk definitely, where I feel like Colton was like very upfront. I feel like at least.
Right.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? One thing that really bothers me about the Kirk stuff still is that I was so nice. I'm not going to be nice anymore. I was so nice because I had this conversation with him after, like a week afterwards, and he was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I really did like you, but every single time I'd get closer to you, I kept thinking about my ex, and we had just broken up and blah, blah, blah. So he was thinking about this girl at home the whole time, and then he was going to all of these news outlets and being like, I never liked Carly that much. And then, do you remember at the Bachelor in Paradise party when he was like, the premiere party where he's like, Carly, I can't stop thinking about you. I think about you every single day. He's like trying to get with me again. I was like, are you still with that girl at home? And he was like, yes. And I was like, no, then you can't be with me. And he was going to everybody and saying, I don't like Carly. And yet to my face, still saying, I think about you every day and I really like you. And it was so crazy to me because I was like, I almost wanted to go to the media and be like, this is what he's doing. But I was like, I'm too good of a person for that. But I'm not too good of a person anymore.
You're not too good of a person for our Babes and Babies listeners where we share all.
Right.
Expose.
Confessionals.
Yeah, guys are weird, man.
Yeah, guys are really weird. Also, with our Bachelor in Paradise episode, people think that we just like left our babies.
Yeah, can we set this record straight for a second? Because I was getting some really mean Instagram messages. Like one lady, especially, which I put on blast, but she was like,
I saw that.
Can't
that
believe
so
you
mean.
left your baby when she was crying and you were laughing. People are out there trying to have children. And I'm like, for one, this is not it. Don't bring the infertility card into this. Like, that has nothing to do with anything. For two, she's 10 months old. That is like the prime time for separation anxiety. Like, I'm sorry,
100%.
I'm sorry. Like, I did my best to try to like help her, but she was, I mean, that's just what they go through. And as a parent, you can't 24/7 be with your child. You know, like we do need that mommy and daddy time.
Yes. And they weren't even there for that long. So
yeah,
they were just fine.
And we did not leave the premises.
Right. We were watching them from cameras within 10 feet of where they were. So if anything could or would happen, then we would be there. And also they had a person fly. They had 3 people especially fly in just because there were children on set.
Right.
There was a nurse, there was a teacher, and there was a timer because kids can only be on camera for a certain amount of time.
Right.
So, like, if anything happened, they were in safer hands on set than they would have been if it was just like Jade and I at home with our babies and something happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
and our
they
parents were there too. So while we were on camera alone, when we were talking us 4 to the cast, our parents had our children. So it was like they were in good hands then too. But
yes,
it was still really cute to watch them on camera.
It cracks me up how people
so
just like freak out though. Like, I don't know.
Well, I get it as an audience member to be like, oh my God, they just left their kids. It's just like, you know, there's the Bachelor from behind the scenes that is very different than the Bachelor that you get on TV. So, like, I get if you're just a viewer why you would think that happened because that's the way it looked, but that just wasn't the way it was.
But, yeah, which I get too. But also, like I was saying, parents all over the world every day have to go to work, have to drop their kids off at daycare or with their nannies or babysitters or whoever, or maybe they want to go away for a weekend or maybe they want to go out for a date night. Like sometimes babies have to be away from their parents and sometimes they're not in the mood, you know, and we have to leave our kids crying. Doesn't mean we don't want our children.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, I also saw the video though that Ashley just posted of Bella and Emmy, and it was Emmy kissing Bella. It was the cutest thing ever.
So cute.
Oh, they are like little best friends.
I know.
It was so cute. Oh my gosh.
Cute. And Bella's little legs are like wiggling like crazy.
Oh my gosh. That's what she does when she gets happy. She wiggles like her whole body wiggles. It's so cute.
Yeah, it was a really cute video.
That is so much fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Oh.
Okay, you guys know I don't cook. It's very sad about my life, but I don't. And I feel really bad for our 3 children who just want a stepmom that can cook. But luckily, you guys, I just started getting Yumble Kids boxes. There's no cooking required. Meals come ready to eat. Dinner's ready in 60 seconds, delivered to your door. It's food kids love to eat. They can even bring it to school, pop it in the microwave,
Boom.
and they're good to go. And I'm a hero.
Yes, you are. You are. Girl, no shame. What's even better is the meals are actually healthy. So they're nutritionist approved. They have all proteins that are antibiotic free and hormone free, which I think is really important for our children. Whole grains, use of superfoods such as chia, quinoa. I know that's up your alley, Liz. No added sugar, no high fructose corn syrup, so your kids aren't getting those sugar highs and going crazy. And they come in fun shapes like chicken pops, quinoa pizza cups that are bite-sized and fun, and they include little activities.
Yes.
I think that sounds fun for adults too.
Yeah, can I eat?
Oh, yeah.
I might just get it for myself. We have a special offer for our listeners of the Babes and Babies podcast. You get 30% off of your 2 weeks of subscription from Yumble by using the promo code BABES. Just go to yumblekids.com and use the promo code BABES to get 30% off your first 2 weeks. That's Yumble, YUMBLE, kids.com, and use the promo code BABES, and you get 30% off. Check it out, guys.
That's amazing.
Well, we didn't introduce our guest, and we didn't really do hey, what's going on in your life? But this episode, we're gonna hear everything that's going on in Jade's life.
Yes.
Holla.
Jade, are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I was trying to hype myself up this morning, but I was like, oh man.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning like we started with Liz. Jade,
Okay.
Where were you born?
So I was actually born in Denver, Colorado, in one of the, suburbs of it called Wheat Ridge. My parents lived there for a couple years and had me. And then the first couple years of my life, we moved everywhere. So we lived in Denver, and then my parents moved to Fort Collins, Colorado, and my brother Zach was born there. And then we moved, we lived in San Francisco for a while. We lived in Washington,
Whoa.
Then
Wait, why? Why did you move
to
so
Colorado.
much?
I have no idea, but this was all before 6. And then we lived back. Yeah, then we lived back in Colorado for a while, and then my dad got a job offer in Nebraska, and that's when we moved there. And then from first grade through high school, I lived in good old Scottsbluff, Gearing area in Nebraska.
Aw.
Yeah.
Where y'all's friendship began.
Where it all began.
How old were you when your first brother was born? Do you remember that?
Kind of. So I was 2.5, and my mom tells me stories, obviously, because I don't have memories of. But I knew that I knew he was going to be a boy. I kept telling my mom, I was like, "You're going to have a boy," because they waited to find out, and I just knew I was having a brother. And
That's so weird.
Yeah,
That is so weird.
And my mom said that I was just instantly second mommy. I loved him so much, and I would always speak for him. My mom said, when he would say something in baby gibberish, and I would be like, "Yeah, Mom, that means he needs this."
my gosh, that's so cute.
So, and then actually, then my brother Briley was kind of an accident surprise. And he was born when I was 8. And I think we talked about it on the podcast before, but I remember bringing him in to show and tell at school.
Oh, that is so cute. It's so
when he was
cute.
2 weeks old or something after he was born. And I was so proud. But
So you definitely remember that one very well.
I did. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Actually, so I remember that one very vividly because I remember us all being in the waiting room at the hospital while my mom was in labor. And I wanted to be in there so bad because I knew something major was going on, and I wanted to be there to help my mom. And I was kind of, I was kind of in a panic, and I was really frustrated I was 8, but I was really frustrated that they wouldn't let me in the room. I don't know why. And so after he was born, I went and I just busted through the hospital door or into her room door. And I remember that he had been born, and I saw the afterbirth and like a pan, you know, like the pan that they put all the afterbirth in and all the blood. And I didn't realize, I guess, how bad it was. And my mom said I like freaked out. I must have thought something was wrong, you know, that she was dying.
Totally.
Or, you know, because all that blood and all this stuff. And I completely blocked that memory out. So I don't remember seeing that because it must have been that traumatizing for me as a kid because I didn't understand. You know, no one explains to you that there's all this extra stuff that comes out with a baby.
Right.
And, you know, that's the first thing I see when I like running through the doors, just this pan of afterbirth.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Yeah.
So I don't remember seeing it. I have like an idea in my head maybe what the memory is now, but when my mom first told me that, I was like, I didn't see that. And she was like, oh yeah, you freaked out. I just remember being in the waiting room.
This is a jumping way ahead question. When you were giving birth, do you remember pushing for the afterbirth out?
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
Not at all.
I just remember because I was doing skin to skin with Emerson and trying to get her to latch for the first time, and the midwife looked at me and she's like, "You're not done."
Oh yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna push on your uterus. We're gonna get the afterbirth out. So she was kind of like pushing on me, and she was like, "You need to push." And at that point, my legs were just jello. I was like, I can't feel I don't know how to push right now. I can't feel down there because but
that's so crazy.
That.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about how I didn't remember that until now. So what were you like as like a kid? Like elementary school Jade was. I know Liz said you were like quiet.
In school I was.
In school, yeah.
My parents, I think, put a lot of pressure on us like scholastically. So I feel like I always had to have all A's and I needed to be like a star student and everything. And so I was very quiet and wanted to learn in school. And I was pretty serious, I feel like. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy learning and everything. But at home, like I had two brothers, so I was kind of a tomboy in certain ways. I had Barbies, but didn't really play with them. Just I like to put clothes on them and have like fashion shows. But otherwise, I didn't actually play like Barbies. I mostly like played outside. We had a couple acres, we had horses, and we had this field across. Like there was our street, and then which was dirt. It was a dirt road, I guess, and then a ditch, and then across from us was all these fields. Do you remember playing in the fields, Liz?
I remember in the fields. So we learned in school about this missionary that went to China that helped rescue children out. So we used to take her brothers into the field and pretend they were the kids trapped in this like orphanage, and we'd have to rescue the children out, and we'd play it in that field.
Oh my gosh, the things we did as children are so
we play
weird.
like rescue missionaries.
That's really funny.
And we would like try to fish for like tadpoles or crawdads and stuff like that. And so I was a little bit of a tomboy as a kid, I feel like, or just really enjoyed being outside. And
what did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were like back then?
So when I was really, really little, when I was like 3, 4, I guess, I wanted to be a nun.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You wanted to be a nun.
Yes.
I could so see that.
But not because of like the religious aspect. It was because I think of I don't know what show it was, but I thought that nuns rescued orphans. And so I wanted to help the orphans. So I was like, I want to be a nun. Because I thought that's what nuns did. So
that is so funny.
Yeah.
My mom wanted to be a nun, too, for, like, so long.
Really?
My mom would have been a good nun. Yeah.
Yeah.
She could still be a nun and be a good nun.
Yeah, I could see that.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
So what did you want to be later after you realized being a nun was, like, not going to happen in your life?
When I was like, I have to devote my whole life to God, which is, I mean, hey, each their own. But I was like, oh, wait, nuns don't just rescue orphans.
Well, at least there's some nuns that can, like, that go out in, like, the world. And then there's some nuns that are just in a convent and don't leave.
Right.
Like at least you could be the nun that got out.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, we're going to go with that. And then I wanted to be, which I feel like almost every little girl goes through this stage. I wanted to be a marine biologist.
I didn't go through this stage though. It was just
I didn't go through this. My best friend went through this, but I did not.
But
she even went to a camp. She went to a camp like in Florida to study, like over
like
the summer to study
camp.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it was fun. And
that is so funny.
I wanted to work with like rehabilitating manatees in Florida. That's why I went to Florida.
I can also see this.
It's I know, such a weirdo. But I also think I don't know what I believe spiritually, but like if I had past lives, I feel like there's something that has to do with marine mammals to me, because I always have dreams about whales and killer whales, dolphins, and I used to have those shark dreams. I still every once in a while have one. But I don't know. There's something about, I don't know, that I feel like very connected to that. But
interesting.
I really wanted to in high school go to the University of San Diego because they have a really good marine biology program. But at that stage in my life, I wasn't really getting along with my family. And I don't know about my high school, but I felt like nobody, like none of the school counselors really helped me with finding like a way to go to college. And so it just like never really happened. My parents didn't really want to help me. The counselors at school weren't really helping me. And so I just was like, I just didn't know how to do it myself. So yeah.
Well, how could you? You're in high school.
Right. How do you know how to actually do all those things?
Right.
I guess you can figure it out, but I just felt like no one wanted to help me. So I felt maybe like I didn't deserve to go. I don't know.
I mean, there's so much involved with that though, because you have to do all these, all these like admissions things. You have to figure out how to pay for it. You have to figure out where you want to go. You have to figure out how to send it. Sometimes you have to go like for me, I had to audition. Like there's so many steps that you wouldn't know when you're 16, 17 years old.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my school was very like, where are you going to college? What are you doing about it? You have to get these grades, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm going to sing. So I didn't have to like really think about it, but that's so weird.
So you guys know that in the Bass household, we have a 17-year-old who is going into college, and we just were introduced to Chegg, and it is helping us so much. It's a leader in an online study assistance. You can search for free scholarships, browse course reviews, get 24/7 study help, and rent textbooks for a fraction of the cost of a bookstore, all in one big education redefining student hub. It's so cool and so helpful.
Yeah, just talking about how I really didn't feel like I had anybody to help me get into college or find scholarships. I think this is a really cool program because it says you can search for free scholarships on there. You can browse course reviews, get 24/7 study help, and rent textbooks for a fraction of the cost of any bookstore, all in one big education redefining student hub. I think that's amazing for kids.
That is so awesome. Not even just for kids, for adults too, if you want to go back to school.
Yeah.
So for $5 off your first month subscription, go to chegg.com/babes and use promo code babes. That is Chegg, CHEGG.com/babes, and use promo code babes for $5 off your first month subscription. Who was your first kiss?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You can pass on any question.
No, don't pass. Don't pass.
No, so because I was so quiet as a kid, and I felt like growing up, because we went to a Christian school, like Liz has talked a little bit in her episode about how we were kind of like taught to be a little bit ashamed of our bodies as women. I felt very uncomfortable in my own skin, and I was very shy and didn't really know how to interact with boys and for a long time. So even like 8th grade, I remember we had, do you remember, Jesse Reese?
Yeah.
So this guy named Jesse Reese, and he was graduating 8th grade from our Christian school, and he had a like graduation party at his house, and there was a dance. And I was in 7th grade. There was a dance at his house, like outside.
Oh my gosh.
Outside, like where his like on the cement where like his basketball hoop was in his garage, and his parents had all set it up, and they had a campfire going. And I remember I just sat by the fire the whole time because I was like so nervous and shy, and I was like, I don't want to dance the boy, I don't want to touch a boy, I don't know how to do this, like what do I say, how do I dance, like
oh my gosh.
You know, like, and I remember him coming over and trying to get me to dance, and I would not. I was just like that shy. And so I didn't get my first kiss until I was 16, and I was trying so hard not to be 16. It was 3 days after my 16th birthday, and I was like, I don't want to be 16 and never been kissed. But it happened 3 days. I remember it was 3 days after my 16th birthday. But it was this guy that I really liked, and it was, you remember Clint Rubottom, right?
Yeah.
It was this guy that I had a super crush on. And we had been hanging out for a while, and there was times where I knew he was trying to kiss me. I remember one time he came over to my house, and we stood out in the snow for like 10 minutes, just like standing there staring at each other, like really awkwardly, like him like waiting for me to give him some kind of sign that he could kiss me. And I was just like hoping he would do it, and then he didn't. It was just like really
what
weird.
What a great moment to remember.
Oh yeah, because I remember just like wanting him to, but I don't know. I just was not.
It's scary.
Yeah, and so, but I do remember my first kiss. He came over to my house, and we were playing video games in my living room, and he was only allowed to stay over for so long, and then my dad was like, dude's got to go. So we were standing by the door for him to leave, and he leaned in and kissed me, and I still remember to this day, just like what that feeling felt like for the very first time for someone else's lips to touch your lips. And I remember, and it was like all tingly, and I was like, whoa, that's what it feels like. I remember that, yeah.
And now it doesn't tingle at all.
No, it doesn't tingle anymore. Sometimes I wish it would still tingle.
Right. Yeah, but I do remember that. But
so so on our season, your brother called you the Wild Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
When did Wild Jade start being wild? Like what was that? When did that happen? What were you like?
I think it was in high school, where I think it's when you get to an age where the world gets a little bit bigger and you realize that your parents aren't superheroes and that they're imperfect. And I remember getting really mad at my parents because they had always told us like things that about, how we should be in the world, how we should act as people. And I found out they were hypocrites in a lot of ways. So I was like, okay, well, this pressure you've been putting on me my whole life is not the way everything is. And I kind of realized like, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm going to be my own person, and I'm going to make my own rules and live my life the way I want to live my life. And I rebelled a lot in high school, probably my junior, senior year. And everything was always like blamed on me. And so I feel like my brothers always looked at me like whenever something would go wrong, my mom and dad would always be like, well, if Jade was only this way. And so my brothers always looked at me as kind of like a troublemaker.
Oh.
Which I was pretty much just a normal kid. Like I just wanted to hang with my friends, and I just wanted to go to a party every once in a while and drink a little bit or smoke a little bit. And my parents thought I was like giving them the worst hell of their life. And I was just trying to figure myself out. And I was being pretty, I was never like in danger. But I think my parents kind of like, I don't know, made my brothers look at me as like what not to be.
Yeah.
And I just rebelled no matter what. And so I think my brothers were always like, oh, well, Jade just does what she wants. And so maybe that's why I was a Wild Mustang. But I feel like that's myself now too, is I kind of I live within my own like kind of life rules. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you do. And we all should.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's the scary thing to say, like, well, this is the way that I want to live. And it's in my own, like, I'm going by, I'm trying to say something and my brain is like no coffee brain right now.
Dancing to the beat of your own drum. And
yes,
I think there's nothing wrong with, as long as you're not ethically like harming anybody, or yourself really, then I think you're allowed to kind of live life the way you want to live it. And I feel like that's kind of the age where I realized I had that freedom to do so. And I feel like that's what a lot of teenagers go through. So I have been deciding on changing diapers with Emerson because even with the nighttime protection diapers, she's been having a lot of leakage in the middle of the night. And I went to our Facebook group for Babes and Babies and searched all these things that moms were suggesting. And I saw that so many moms are actually saying that the Honest diapers have helped them the most and that the bundle package is where it's at. So I'm actually super excited to get the bundle package and see, because it's worth so much. and I can't wait to actually try it.
Well, the good thing about Honest diapers, though, is they're super absorbent. They hold 17 times their weight in fluid. So if you're worried about that nighttime leakage, I'm sure that it'll definitely help. The other thing that I always love recommending Honest for is that they're crafted with specially selected ingredients and made without harsh chemicals and additives. They're hyperallergenic. They're eco-friendly. It's just a great company to use. And yeah, their bundle packages is definitely such a great deal. You save $17 on each shipment when you choose to do the bundle
Which
package.
is so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So worth it. And it gets delivered to you on a schedule you customize and control. So if you're not 100% satisfied, they work with you to create a solution, which is amazing. And they sell trusted at-home cleaning products and beauty products too, which I know Jade and I both use. And this is an exclusive listeners only deal of $25 off your first month's diapers and wipes shipment. Visit www.honest.com/babies and enter promo code HONEST at checkout. That's honest.com/babies and enter promo code HONEST at checkout. Certain restrictions apply and see website for details. When was the first time you had sex?
Well, this is an awkward question because a couple years ago I came out that I was raped when I was a teenager, and that was the first time that was when I lost my virginity. So technically, if you want to count that counts. But probably, so that was when I was almost 17. Probably like 3 months after that happened is the time that I chose to have sex for the first time.
So then, okay, when you were raped, how did you even get past that, get through that, all of psychologically?
I mean, I buried it deep. I tried to tell some people. I had a couple friends that I kind of the next day tried to, in a roundabout way, say I think something happened because I was drunk, and I just didn't know how to handle it. My dad, I think, had some suspicions and just kind of ignored it. I don't think he really knew what was going on either, and so I felt like nobody cared and that no one was going to believe me. And so I just like buried it deep and kind of like blamed myself. And so I carried it for a long time. I just, for the first time, came out like really to everybody besides like maybe like a boyfriend before or so, that it happened like 2 years ago. And that was like super healing for me, actually.
It was.
Yeah, and
I'm so glad.
Yeah, and when I talked about those shark dreams, I had them for years, and after I came out with that, I stopped having those dreams. And so I think it was just so repressed, and that was like some way that my like inner consciousness was expressing itself, that it like needed to come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, and it definitely affected me because I felt like, oh, well, that's all I'm good for. And after that, so that was like my junior year. My freshman year of college, I was super promiscuous because I felt like that's really, I mean, it wasn't even like, it was just like a weird void I felt like maybe I was feeling, or maybe that's what I really thought. I don't know, that's what I deserved. So it was something that I battled through with that. And then I've always kind of battled with, I guess, self-esteem issues, which I feel like there's other reasons that I had self-esteem issues, but that was definitely a big part of it too. So
that is, I can't imagine going through that as in junior in high school, because you're a kid.
Yeah.
You're a kid and you don't know. And you're like, yeah, it would be like, you're so scared. Like, you're so scared that it wasn't my fault. Was it their fault? I was drunk. So what, like, am I going to get in trouble?
Right.
Like, no, those guys are just horrible people.
Well, and like,
they
did a
are.
horrible
And the thing
thing.
is, like, Jade wasn't the only person that they did that to.
There was like a group of guys in my high school that just weren't like the best, but we were all like in a big circle of friends, and so I felt like even if I had come forward with anything, which obviously that wasn't like anything anyone ever did in that time period, really. Like now there's more of a movement of like women should speak up. And that was not, that's not the thing back then. So even if I hadn't, I really don't think anyone would have believed me. I feel like parents would have been against me. I already had enough going on in my life. I don't know. I just felt like my parents wouldn't have come to my defense at that point. We were just like, our relationship was not great at that time. And I don't know. I just felt like it was just too much to try. So I acted like nothing happened, and I still continued to be friends with these people. I mean, like I felt like I had to put on a face and act like everything was okay, which is this insanity.
It's not insane though. It makes sense because when you don't know how to deal with something, most people just shove it under the rug and act like nothing happened. Like that's just a common thing to do. Okay, if I just act like nothing happened, everything will just stay the same.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So after high school, what did you do?
I went to community college for a little bit, and that's where I met. So I've been previously engaged. I met my boyfriend at the time, Paul, and he kind of pulled me out of my kind of self-sabotaging behavior, because my freshman year of college, I really was just like drinking 5 nights a week, like getting wasted 5 nights a week, like not taking care of myself, not taking care of my body, just like giving myself away to people who I shouldn't have. And he kind of pulled me out of that. And we dated for 3.5 years. And it was just funny because when we got engaged, he was like, well, I want you to have a career before we get married. So I was 19 when we met. We were 20 when we were engaged, and he was older. So he was 24, 25 when I was 20. And I was like, well, I'm still figuring myself out. you know, like I don't even know. So I decided to go to culinary school, and that's when I moved to Vegas and lived with Liz. And he and I were long distance, and he never came to visit me once, you guys.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I just got chills. That's so weird.
So I would come back to Scottsbluff like every 8 weeks when I could, and I was so broke. And I would visit him, and he's a nice guy. There was no like real like problems with our relationship. His dad passed away when we were together, and he was going through a lot, and it changed him, and I think he kind of just closed off.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I tried to be there for him so much, but there was a point where I just reached it and I was like, I don't feel you anymore. Like, we're not connected. Like, you don't come visit me. You don't know my life here. And that's important for me, you know, to see like where I go to school, where I work, meet my friends. And it was just never important to him. So I stopped wearing my ring. And I was like, I think we just need to take a break. And then when I graduated, I moved back. We tried to make it work. It just didn't. And then he just didn't want to be with me then. So then I was like, okay. And then, of course, like 6 weeks later, he was like, I want to give it a try. And I was like, closed book. Like, sorry.
Wow.
Sorry. You know, like maybe it's not meant to be. So
yeah.
It's kind of weird to look back and think about that. If I actually,
you know, it's crazy though, because like he was the person that like made you go to culinary school and like find yourself and do these things. You know, I mean, I feel like, you know, you look back and you look at these relationships you've had with people, even friends, and you're like, wow, that person really pushed me to do this. And my life wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for them, even though I didn't end up with them. Like, I needed them to put me on my path.
Yeah. I mean, I loved culinary school. After getting out, like the career wasn't really for me. I really felt like pushed into a direction though, which I mean, obviously it's all worked out now. Like, I feel like it's the path that I needed to go down, but I don't really feel like it should have been a career that I should have chose. It was almost just like, okay, I need to pick something that I can graduate from quickly so I can get married.
Oh,
that was like my mind frame, which is so young because I was.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it was hard though, because when you lived with me in Vegas, I never saw Paul being the one for you.
Yeah.
And I know like we talked about it a lot. I think because I think he did come in at a good time to pull you out of maybe what you were and just like shift you into a different direction. And I think that's, like you were saying, Carly, like people come into your life at different times and they serve a purpose. And, and so I think he was so like you said, he never came and visited. He never did this. And I just saw him never leaving Scottsbluff, Nebraska area and always being there and like blah, blah, blah. And I just saw you as somebody who was going to go different places and do different things. And I always felt like he kind of held you back and was kind of forcing you into something that wasn't for you.
Sure. Well, and I do feel like I deep down knew that. And that's kind of like why once like he was ready to like come to terms and try again, I was like, I want different things now, because he was a teacher and he was like a football coach. And I think he's still all these things. And he was looking for someone to be the football coach's wife. And I was like, I see so much more, which is nothing wrong. Right. But I just thought, I just felt like I was seeing so much more potential in myself at this point. And I wanted different things. And it kind of took that for me to realize. But
so what did you do after that?
So after that, I had a couple rebounds. I dated a guy with 2 kids. So I understand.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about him.
Yeah. Yeah. And
oh my gosh.
So I understand sometimes the ex drama, Carly. Yeah. Because there was definitely some of that.
Yuck.
And then I don't know. I had another little fling with a guy named Charlie, but then I didn't want to stay in Scottsbluff. So at this point I was back in Scottsbluff. I decided to move to Lincoln, Nebraska. And it's just kind of like a snowball of like relationships after relationships. Then I dated this guy named Eric, and I lived in Omaha, Nebraska with him for a couple years. And I was a chiropractic assistant, and then and then I dabbled in some wine consulting because that actually had to do with my culinary experience.
Oh yeah,
wait, and that was before all that. Before all that, isn't that when you were in Scottsbluff, you did the phlebotomy?
Well, yeah, you guys, I've done everything. So when I lived in Scottsbluff,
Jade's like literally a jack of all trades.
Funny,
yes. So I had a culinary job for a little bit, and then I decided to work at a hospital and do phlebotomy, which I actually really loved. It was so much fun.
So weird.
Gross.
I love body science. I love like seeing guts and people cut open and the anatomy and how the body works, and just like the miracle that it is that we have modern science and medicine. And I actually really loved it. It was just such a crappy paying job. I was so broke. I remember at one point I was living in my Nana's house because she was living in Portland and she needed someone to house sit pretty much. And I was so broke that I lived for 2 weeks with no electricity and no hot water. So I would come home from work, and I would come home in the dark, and I'd go to bed in the dark, and then I would wake up for work, and I would take a cold shower because there's no hot water, and go to work. I was that broke.
Oh my gosh.
It was only for like 2 weeks until I could actually like reset everything up, but it was definitely my brother right now, he's 23, and he's going through some like life crises or whatever, and sometimes he gets really frustrated. He's like, but your life's so perfect, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, for one, it's not, but also for two, I've been there. It's hard when you're first getting out of college or like trying to figure your life out. Like, I've been broke. I've been down. I've had to dig myself out, you know? So it's like, your life is normal if that's what you're going through. I try to remind him of that. Because now I'm 31. Like, it's been forever. Like, you know, like it's taken me this long to at least have somewhat of my life put together.
Right. I know. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Get the mattress that other mattresses look up to. At Nectar, they believe in love at first night. They're so confident in their mattress that you have 365 nights to get a full refund if you aren't 100% happy. They'll even pick up the mattress and get it out of your hair themselves. Nectar is amazing to sleep on, and Nectar sleepers actually fall asleep 20% faster than other people who sleep on other mattresses. Yes, they actually ran a study.
The Nectar Sleep mattress is 11 inches deep, so yeah, bigger is better, and utilizes a unique 5-layer technology that no other mattress on the market has. Why does no other mattress compete? Because Nectar is patented the most breathable, cooling, body contouring, medical grade, lush foam gel memory layer to help you fulfill your life fantasy of sleeping on a cloud.
Yes,
Oh,
please.
that sounds wonderful.
It does.
Nectar promises a forever warranty on your mattress. Yes, we do mean forever, as in forever and ever. The mattress comes in a box. You heard that right. In a box, you'll be enjoying our mattress before you even lay on it. And Nectar is such an awesome sponsor that they have an exclusive listener offer. Buy now and get $125 off and 2 free premium pillows with any mattress order and free delivery. That's nectarsleep.com/babes and get the best sleep of your life for the rest of your life.
So when did you go out to LA?
So that was after Eric and I broke up. So I was living in Omaha and I knew I wanted, gosh, I feel so bad, you guys. I feel bad talking about these people. But I knew I wanted to break up with him like for 6 months. And it was
for 6 months.
And I just really couldn't figure it out how to do it. And we were living together. And so our lease was up. And so he was like, we should probably look for other places. And I was like, yeah, about that.
Like separate places.
Yeah, I'm not going to be living with you anymore. And so I moved and lived with my brother and his wife for 3 weeks in their basement with my dog Pippa. I got Pippa at this time.
Oh, that's when you got Pippa?
Yeah, because I couldn't have a dog in my apartment with Eric. And so I was like, I can finally get a dog. And my mom's dog had puppies and Pippa was the runt. My mom was so worried she wasn't going to find a home for her. So I was like, I'm taking this dog.
Yeah.
And so that's when my love journey began with my dog. And then I was like, I'm just going to move to California. I just felt like it was right. I had $1,500 in my pocket, and I moved to California
with $1,500.
Yep, $1,500. At that time I had a 2002 VW Bug, and I had 2 boxes, 2 suitcases, and my dog, and we drove by ourselves cross country to California.
That's
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then where did you live when you got there? How did you even afford to live?
Craigslist, man. So I am one of those people
not sketchy at all.
I know. No. You know what, though? That's how I met my friend Bronte, who is actually a bridesmaid in my wedding.
Yeah.
So good things can come out of Craigslist, although I feel like it's a little bit different in LA because a lot of people are more open to that, and a lot of people need roommates.
Right. Yes.
Wait, didn't you knew someone in LA though before you moved?
My
friend
friend
a girl
Katie.
that you went to high school with?
Well, I went to college with her.
Oh, college with her. Okay, yeah.
She went, Katie Greeby. Did she go to Scottsbluff High School?
Oh, yeah, Greeby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So she was there. So she helped me a lot kind of settle in. So, and then I've like relationship hopped a lot like you, Liz. I mean, you said you were kind of like in relationship to relationship to relationship. Like fairly soon I met Manny. And
I know.
And good old Manny.
Yeah, which this is like one relationship like I don't want to really talk about because he's someone who would harass me because he has.
Right. Right. If you say anything bad about him on here, like you'll probably hear about it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's pretend that one didn't happen. So, okay.
But what did you do
out there? What were you doing out there?
Yeah.
Flying by the seat of my pants. Gosh. So I got out there and kind of got involved with a company called The Chive and did a lot of like modeling for them. And that's really what like paid a lot of my bills, connected me with a lot of my friends. That's how I met my friend Carmen.
Right.
And I did that, and then for like a year, I worked at a restaurant as a server called Joffrey's, which is in Malibu, and that was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed being a server. I was a server a lot through my college years too, and younger 20s. It's a fun job. I liked it. And then I was just kind of like living life. I was having a lot of fun, and I don't know, LA is a lot of fun. I got into some pretty good groups, I feel like. It was pretty easy for me just to kind of settle in there, I feel.
So I remember last episode, Carly, you asked if Jade and I have ever really been in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, not really. But then I realized that I've been in a lot of fights with Jade in my head, but not like in real life.
Oh my gosh.
Because
I do tell.
Tell
me about it.
Jade is such an amazing person. We all know this. But Jade can be very flaky and very...
That's true.
Like, especially when it comes to like texting her or calling her. And I remember when she lived in LA, I remember for like 3 months, I had called her and texted her and like did not hear back. And I was like... I am about ready to be like, you know what, Jade, if you don't want to be friends anymore, we don't have to be friends. And then she'd call me like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I love you. How's life? Like, and then I'm like, that's just how Jade is. Like, she gets caught up in life and like lives in the moment, which is such a beautiful thing. But sometimes that means she's in the moment and not like being like, oh, I need to get back to this person or I need to like whatever, you know? So I remember I had to go through a couple of lessons with her and now like, it doesn't like, and then it got to a point like where it never bothered me. I'm like, oh, I'll text her. And when she texts me back, she texts me back, whatever, you know, but like for
I've
a
gotten
while,
to that point with Jade as well.
for a while, it was really bad. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't even know if like we're still friends. You
and
know,
that's so hard because to me, I'm like, oh, we're totally fine, like in my head. And I also think it's like I also think it's an introverted thing. So I feel other people's energies very strongly. Like I can walk down a street and tell if someone's angry, just like feeling their energy. And I take on a lot of people's energy. So I pretty much feel exhausted all the time. And so sometimes I feel like I just can't handle another energy in my presence. And like texting for some reason is one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm opening up another conversation. So I'm inviting this in, so I have to be able to take it on. So a lot of the times, either it's just like, in my head, like you're having fights with me in your head. In my head, I'm like responding back to you. I'm like, oh, Liz, hi, you know, and I never do. And then like a week later, I'm like, I never responded.
Right. I so get that because there are so many times that I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, and I do. I think about the response in my head. And then, I'll look days later and be like, oh my God, I really thought that I sent that response, but that was legitimately in my head. Yeah. I totally get that, which is so weird.
I think that we had a conversation about it. I think like I talked to you about it once. I don't really remember, but then it was just like me learning too that, and this is so common for so many people, we make up stories in our head. So you don't know how the other person's feeling and how you're interpreting things. How I'm interpreting things wasn't at all how she was. So I'm in my head making, it's a total made up storyline that I'm choosing to believe and get frustrated with. Right. Yeah. You know, well, because at that time we lived close. Like I was in Vegas, you were in LA. So I'm like, we could see each other every once in a while. And she was just really, really hard to get a hold of. And it was really frustrating for a while. But then I'm like, oh, this is Jade. She loves me. We're good. And then, you know, and then we actually did start like talking more and hanging out more and stuff. But it's just, I remember like at one point, like being super, super frustrated with you.
I am so sorry. I also feel like too, to let you in about a little bit about me too, if I'm not responding, that probably means that something's going on in my life. I'm not okay. And you should probably just be like, hey, like what's going on? Are you okay? Because I tend to ignore everybody too. I have a tendency to avoid problems and avoid my life when things are going bad. Yeah. And so usually that's just me like avoiding. So just be like, hey,
I get that.
Like,
don't avoid me. Tell me.
Right. I know.
Now we know what to say.
But that's also that like self-esteem thing where I feel like my problems aren't worth it to other people or my problems don't matter. And so it's also like, oh, well, I'm feeling really sad right now or bad right now, but I don't know how to tell people because I feel like they're going to look at me like I'm stupid or, you know, it's like one of those things too. It's just... Yeah. But usually, if I don't respond within a week, you should probably check on me.
Good to know. That would be bad. Yeah. Good to know.
Just be like, you okay?
Okay, so you did Playboy when you were in LA.
I did. That was like actually right away. So the story with that is I was in New York City actually with my friend Joey. And we were staying in like close to Times Square, I guess. And in Times Square, there was a Playboy audition going on at the W Hotel. And one of the cast casting directors asked me if I wanted to come try out. And so this is, I think, in between the period where I was about to move to LA. So I was living with my brother. I just broken up with my boyfriend, and I was like, YOLO.
Yeah, totally.
My friend Joey was like, you absolutely need to do this. He's like, I'll do your makeup, I'll do your hair, whatever. So you have to go to this audition, and you walk in and you sign up, and there's probably like 50 girls in the room. And immediately the girl who you get your application from puts your application in a pile of like no's, maybes, yeses. And there's 3 different casting rooms, I guess. And so I got pushed to the top one, luckily, I guess, and had to stand on camera in a bikini and just talk a little bit about myself. And they invited me to the Halloween party at the Playboy Mansion. So I went to the Halloween party and met a bunch of girls. It was a lot of fun. And then a couple weeks later, in my email, I get an invitation to pose for Playboy. And so I was like, if I don't do this, I may regret this, and it wasn't like I wanted to be super sexy or anything. It was more like I had some body confidence issues, and I wanted to get outside my box, and I wanted to be seen in a different way. And for me, it was something very beautiful, and it wasn't sexual to me. It was something very different.
It's like liberating.
It was liberating. And my photo session experience was actually very empowering. I had a photographer who I felt very, very comfortable with. He was amazing, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't think it was ever going to get any attention. And the only way that it really ever did was because of The Bachelor. So I didn't really think a lot of people were going to find out that I did it. It wasn't something that I was going to talk about on my Facebook or, it was just something that I wanted to do for myself. And when I went on The Bachelor, it was like this whole, I know that's why I got cast, for one. For two, it was like this like taboo thing, and do you regret it, and do you feel bad about it, and all this stuff. They made me feel very ashamed of it. And so I started feeling that way while I was on the show. And so I completely just like got so nervous that I don't even think I enjoyed my Bachelor experience.
Well, they probably brought it up so many times to try to get you to talk about it, to try to whatever.
And
it's like you have this big secret that is shameful that you need to talk about.
Yeah, and it was always like this, do you regret it thing? So I was like, am I supposed to regret this? Like, is this something, did I make a bad choice? And I just didn't feel like I had any bearings on the show. I didn't feel grounded. I felt like I was just like free falling. Like, and so I was just really like believing what these people were telling me instead of like being confident in myself and my own truths. And so I really just kind of went with this, like, I should be so ashamed of it thing. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, what made you want to go on the show, I guess? Because you dated Manny for a while, and then how'd you end up on The Bachelor?
So actually within a friend's circle, one of the producers of the show was in that circle of friends in LA. And he knew that I was single at the time. And I guess he thought, well, besides the Playboy thing, I guess he thought I would have been a good match for Chris Soules. And so I didn't go through the typical process of casting. Neither did Carly, actually. So
we were the last 2 people cast our season.
Yeah, for our season, the very last 2 people. And typically it's like this big casting deal, and you go to like the top 100, and you interview with all the producers. But I just went into their offices. I sat down with one camera and 2 people, and I did a little interview. And then one of the producers at the time came in. He was like, all right, well, we want you. So he's like, you got to just go do the couple tests that we need you to do, and you're on. And so it was really simple. And 3 weeks later, I went on. And my mom was like, I remember the morning of my interview, I told my mom I was going. And she was like, if it's Chris Soules, I really think you should do it. And that morning on Good Morning America, they announced it was Chris Soules. So I felt like it was a sign. I was like, okay, he's the Bachelor. I felt really good going into my interview about it. And the rest is history.
So funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, you really liked crystals.
I did. I always explain it like if it was a real life scenario and we were at a bar and I was with my friends and he was with his friends and he came over and introduced himself or tried to like flirt with me, I would have let him buy me a drink. I would have, I would have entertained it. And that's kind of how I explain it. I don't think our personalities in real life maybe would have been compatible.
Right.
But I did like him.
Yeah. Because I remember like right after, because I got kicked off right before you, and you were like, Carly's going to be fine, which I was. And then I remember when you got kicked off, I was like, oh no, she's really sad. Like you were really sad. Because you did like him, and you were from a small town, and that lifestyle, like you understood that lifestyle. You understood what it meant to live there and could have done it. And like there was like, I think almost like a familiarity to that.
I feel like when you're in that bachelor world though, it's like so different.
It is.
Like I think you're sad because that was your world for like 7-8 weeks or whatever. And they just fill your mind with Chris. So you've built up this image that you're meant to be.
Right.
And you kind of do have to readjust to real life after being in the bachelor life.
Yeah, but he gave a lot of attention to Jade too. Okay. And a lot, I mean, he took her like home to meet his family first before anybody. So he was like making advances like, I really like you.
But I was so naive to that. I didn't really I wish I would have been more aware. Obviously not anymore because I'm happily married. But like, I wish I would have been more aware that maybe he was into me. I didn't really understand it. Like, I didn't understand the show. I hadn't watched seasons for years. Like, so I didn't really understand the template of the show, which I do now. That like, if you go to hometowns, it is a big deal. Like, I didn't get that.
Right.
So I don't know. And I was just so reserved the whole time. I feel like I was really sad that I was disappointed in myself that I was only showing like one side of myself because I was, for one, so nervous. For two, I just felt like I had this cloud over my head, which was like, when are you going to tell him your deep, dark
which is
terrifying.
Secret? Yeah, because you don't know how they're going to spin anything. Because it wasn't even a deep, dark secret. It was something you were excited that you did. And when they're like holding it over you, and you know how that works. Once you tell your secret, are you going to stay? That's like how it works in Bachelor World.
Oh, I know. I feel like, honestly, if I had not said it on my hometown, I would have gone to the final 3 just because I feel like producers might have swayed some situations just because they wanted that to be such a big part of my story.
Right.
And the story of the show.
Well, because it was a shock to people because you were so reserved and like quiet and sweet. And then it was like, say what? I know.
And then it was like,
which is so silly.
It was like deception. Like, I remember all these like articles coming out and being like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like calling me like seductress and all this stuff. And I was like, what? Like,
it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward to Bachelor in Paradise when you met Tanner. So I know you talked about this the other day, like on Bachelor in Paradise, like when we went back on, but like from the moment that you saw him, like what did you feel? Did it feel different than like anyone else you'd ever like seen? And then when you talked to him, like what was going through your mind? I mean, I was there, but like I want everybody to know.
Yeah, it was just so funny because you and I had talked and we were like, let's just go and have fun and we're going to go on this beach and we're just going to be girlfriends hanging out and let's go make new friends and all this stuff. And I almost didn't go. I signed my contract at midnight.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
Yeah, the night I was supposed to fly out. So I signed Louis was like, one of the producers was like bugging me. He was like, when are you going to send in your contract? When are you going to send in your contract? You have a flight tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I finally was like, whatever, I'm going to do it. So I packed. I was halfway packed. I was like halfway in, 1 foot in the door. Packed, got there. And I honestly had no expectations. I remember looking at pictures of the guys and the producers asking me, which guys do you think are cute? And I was like, none. I was like, these pictures for one are horrible, which they are. The bio pictures are terrible.
So bad.
This was before everybody was really like social media connected and party event connected. So I had not met any of these guys. And so
it was the season was like just airing.
And yeah,
so we hadn't even seen
Caitlin's season of Guys. So Caitlin's season was airing. We had seen like 2 episodes, so we had no really like way to judge what these guys were like. So I didn't have any expectations. And I remember being on the beach and seeing Tanner come down, and something in my whole body was just like, "Whoa, okay, that's something. I feel something." That was unexpected. And then that whole first day, I just kept remembering. I was like, when are you going to talk to him? When is he going to come talk to you? Like, why is he not talking to you? And so I positioned myself at the bar, like really close to him, but I was talking to somebody else just to hope, like, if I turned around, I'd be like, hey.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
And it happened, and he took me, because I remember he talked to you for a while, Carly. I was like, oh shit, like Carly's.
Yeah, but we were talking about you.
I know, but I was like, Carly's going to like the guy I want to talk to. I'm like, this is going to be really hard because I was going to let you have him then because I didn't want boys to come between us.
Right.
And then
Carly had a crush on Tanner?
No, but they were talking for a long time that first day. And so I was like, oh no, they're having a connection.
Yeah.
And then he and I went to like one of those day beds, and we had a good conversation, and he was being really funny. And I was like, oh, that's why I like you. And he was like, why? And I was like, because you're just like Carly. I was like, you're like the male version of Carly. I get like...
so funny.
Yeah. And
I can actually kind of see that a little bit.
Yeah.
He was like the funny commentator guy too.
I feel like funny,
like
outgoing,
like me and Tanner
not
all the
very
time.
Emotional.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, what do you mean?
Which is kind of like the yin to my yang, because I'm a very emotional person and sensitive person, and he's not. Which, I mean, it's good in our relationship and it's bad in our relationship, because sometimes I'm like, why don't you understand me? But it's because he cannot. Like his plane does not cross my plane in the emotional world. But that night, I remember, by this time Tanner was really drunk though, because all the guys were really drinking. But there was a bonfire, and I talked to Jared first, and I was like, okay, there's nothing here. And then I talked to JJ, and then Tanner came stumbling. It was kind of like a little unsure-footed, or whatever you want to say, and came over and asked if I wanted to talk. And I was like, finally. And he pretty much said, like, I'm not here for anybody else, and I really want to get to know you. And if it doesn't work out with you, I don't really want to like try to date anybody. I'm just going to have fun. And I could tell he was so nervous, and that he wanted to kiss me. So I kind of gave him that little lean, and we had a kiss that first night. And then it really just was very natural after that. I had no interest in anyone else. I didn't want to take anyone else on a date. Yeah. And that was it.
One thing I remember that was so funny about our like first steps with our boys was that I'd be like, yeah, I kissed him. And you'd be like, you already did? Okay. And then you'd be like, I can do it too.
I know.
And then like, you know, the other things that we do, you already did that? Okay, maybe I can do it too.
Right.
Like I never led anyone in my life down the path of like, I'm going to be the bad one first. And I was doing all the things.
You were
so funny.
You were my influence.
I was a pusher.
Yeah.
I was a Bachelor in Paradise kissing pusher.
That's right.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember like you and Tanner were always like off by yourself talking and like hanging out like all day and all night. I remember people being like, you're friends with Jade? Where is she? And I was like, she's just out falling in love, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because we didn't really hang out that much because you were like, you spent so much time with Tanner, which is exactly what you should be doing.
Right. Well, and I think there were a lot of situations. It was such a different show back then, too. I don't think the show had an idea of like which direction they wanted to take it yet. And they would often make me and Tanner go other places where the drama wasn't happening. They didn't want like the established couples in the drama. Now it's like they invite them into the drama. Right. It's a very different show now. So oftentimes, too, we were kind of ostracized. Like, producers would be like, why don't you guys go over here and have a talk? And then all the drama would be going on somewhere else.
Right.
So
yeah.
It was
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's like, how do I get drama with this couple to see if they can withstand it?
Right.
Yeah. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So did you know that Tanner was going to propose?
So kind of. So he and I hadn't really talked about it, but we had talked about like life outside of the show and what we were going to do, and that we were most definitely going to be a couple, and that the possibilities, like, well, I was going to move to Nashville with you and be closer. And then we were going to see where it was going to go from there. And then the night before the proposal, I guess, like, he had decided it was going to happen. Like, we had already said, like, you know, we were in love. We loved each other. And I was alone in one room at Vedanta, like you were. And Tanner was back at the beach. And
poor guys.
I know, poor guys. And the producer called and was like, hey, like, what if just the most amazing, spectacular, once-in-a-lifetime thing happened in your life tomorrow? Would you be open to that? And, you know, hinting.
A lot. Is that a lot?
Oh, yes. And I was like...
sounds exactly like something you'd say.
And I was like, you know what? If this spectacular thing is going to be happening, all I want to do is have my nails done. So next day,
oh my gosh, yeah,
they set up a salon appointment. So I was like, okay, this is happening. This is going to happen. Unless he, you know, changed his mind. But that was still in the back of my head. Well, he could change his mind. But I had an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember after you guys FaceTimed me when you were in the in like that giant room of Dante when the show was over, and you're like, we're engaged. And I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
I was like so sad, but like so happy for you guys. Oh, that was amazing.
I think like the saddest part. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go ahead. What was the saddest
part? Was when you left and I didn't get to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's what I heard
bad.
that happened. That's so sad that they didn't let you say goodbye.
I know.
It was just like really weird. Like, but part of me was like, I was trying to get out so quickly of Paradise that I was like, I think it was probably me being like, I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm not putting myself in any more camera time, blah, blah, blah. Cause I knew it would like be on there. So I was like, give me a car right now. I'm leaving. But this is not about me today.
We can talk all about that next week.
Oh gosh. So you guys got engaged.
Well, and I remember they FaceTimed me, and I hadn't watched the season that Tanner was on, so I had no idea like who he was. And she FaceTimed me, and I was like, "What?" And then like, who is he? Like had his head in your lap. He was laying there, and you were like rubbing his head.
Oh my God!
And I was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "What is going on?"
Who is that?
And then I came out to LA to your guys' like engage, like when the finale was, and I got to meet him. And the thing that I liked was because, like we've said before, Jade, she is an introvert, but she's also like a complete weirdo when she's like with groups of one or two. So like,
with my besties.
Yeah. But you were being such a weirdo. Like you and I were being such weirdos in front of Tanner, and it was just like so natural and comfortable. And you guys just seemed so comfortable with each other. And I loved that.
I think that's one of like the best things about our relationship is Tanner's unfazed by pretty much everything. So it just doesn't matter how weird I get or whatever. He's just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what you need.
So
can you imagine having like a judgmental husband that's like, ew, I don't like you're weird? Like,
I know.
No.
That
would be horrible.
He just pretty much takes everything in. Yeah.
I love that.
And he's a weirdo too, so.
So did your parents, like, did everybody think you were crazy, like, coming home? I know you moved in with me, and then you ended up moving to Kansas City.
Yeah, so I moved in with you, and then I, like, 8 weeks later, I think I moved to Kansas City. And then, but yeah, my parents were kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I guess we kind of expected this, but it wasn't like a part of the show really at that time. It was the second season. It wasn't like there might be one person or a couple of people that get engaged. It wasn't like that. And so they were like, oh, okay. Well, and then, I mean, this is, I guess, wild Mustang me. They're like, okay, well, that's, I guess, kind of typical of Jade to just do something unconventional.
Right.
But they pretty much just like accepted it. I feel like my dad and both Tanner's mom both just knew it was like like my dad was like, it's Tanner, isn't it? Before I even told him, I was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Tanner's mom was like, it's Jade, isn't it? And
that's so crazy.
I guess they just like knew, they had like an intuition or something that maybe we made sense. And it was really weird for the first time all of our families met, which was at a Thanksgiving. And, you know, none of we were engaged and we were planning a wedding, and they were like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. That was definitely different. But I mean, my parents have been super, super supportive of everything. So,
right.
Yeah.
Your parents are so sweet. Mm-hmm. They're so sweet.
Yeah. Especially like our relationship is good now. Like I talked about, we had a weird dynamic for a while, and probably when I moved to California is when it actually started to get really better. And so, but now they're awesome.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, they're so good with Emmy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's spoiled and loved for sure.
Okay, so what does the next... So now, okay, we know now that you obviously have Emmy, and we know that you're trying for another. What does the next, 5-10 years of your life look like?
I mean, we definitely
want to do.
We definitely want a couple kids. So
okay,
I would like to have 3, maybe. I'm thinking. We'll see. 2 is a nice number. Tanner one's 4.
It's my boy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I would love to still kind of have some adventure in my life. I know we feel pretty settled, but I don't feel settled. I've never been someone who really likes being in one spot for too long. And so I thought maybe that would be a feeling that I would get once I was married and have a kid, but I don't feel that way. So who knows? Life's an adventure, and I hope it takes us some crazy places. And I feel like Tanner's finally a little bit open to it because he's lived in Kansas City since he was 2. And all of his friends are here. His roots are here. But I feel like he's getting a little bit of the itch to do something new. So I hope that there's lots of doors that open for us, and whatever it may be, I hope I don't know. I just want to have a lot of fun still. And I feel like that's still possible. People are like, oh, you have a kid, you have a husband now. But I feel like I want Emerson to be vivacious and a life lover. And I want her to experience all sorts of things, even at a little age. I want her to know that everything is possible, and that it may be hard sometimes, but as much as you work at something, you can achieve it. And I want her, I don't know, I just want her to grow up in an environment that she feels free to just be herself. And in order for her to feel free to be herself, I need to be free to be myself, you know? And so I hope, I don't know, I'm just open to everything right now.
I love that. I know we asked Liz this last time, but is there a saying that, what's the saying of your life?
Gosh. I don't know. I just feel like when one door closes, a window opens. You know, you may not, I think when one door closes, another door opens is kind of the same thing, but I like the idea of a window because it's not conventional. It's when you see something and you expect it to happen and it doesn't, there may be something even better in store, and it may be something completely different than you expected. I feel like that's kind of always been my life.
I totally agree with that. I mean, people say there's only one chance to do this. No, there's not.
No.
There's going to be a chance to get to that a totally different way if that's what's supposed to happen.
I love the idea of reinvention. I love completely reinventing yourself when you need to. I feel like I've lived 10 different lives, and 10 different stories of a completely different person just because of the things I've gone through, and I don't know. I just feel like that life is always, I don't know, just open to whatever, and if you're open to it.
One thing I just love about you is that you're your life, when people are listening to this, they're like, no way. You just seem like you've had this perfect little life, but you haven't. You've done all of the struggles to get to what is still an imperfect life, because nobody has a perfect life. But you are so still put together a beautiful mom, a beautiful wife, a wonderful, courageous, inspiring woman.
Thank you.
But you've literally been through it all and been so independent and you have gotten yourself where you are. Mm-hmm. Nobody else has handed you anything. That is so just brave and wonderful.
Thank you. That's something I take a lot of pride in, actually. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Liz,
what were you going to say?
Oh, I just have one more question. Like, what is something, because Carly, like, asked, like, where do you kind of see yourself 5-10 years? But what is something that you personally, like, want to accomplish in the next, like, 10 years?
Besides children.
Besides popping out those babies.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I have a new idea every 5 minutes. So
you really do. You are like, you need to be on Shark Tank, like, every day for a new idea.
I think someday eventually I'll have, like, my own company again, because I had my own wedding cake business for a while. I did that organic lip line for a while.
Right.
I always have ideas, and I like that about myself. And so eventually I feel like when the right time comes, I'll probably have some sort of business again. I like being a mom right now and learning to accept that maybe that's my role right now, because Emerson is so tiny, and that I get to help give her the support that she needs to be herself. And so that is a struggle sometimes, because I get a lot of anxiety and stuff that goes with that, and I can get down on the hard days. But I feel like right now it's kind of just like I'm Instagramming and I'm momming. Yeah. But eventually I'd love to have my own business. And well, who knows what that is.
Well, we look forward to seeing what it is.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do.
Thank you. Yeah. I like the idea of, like, I've always been, like, someone who does my own thing, or I consider myself not like a leader to others, but a leader to myself, and just making my own path. So I eventually think I'll just run a business someday.
I totally believe you. I mean, even like you are a leader to the others, though, because even with your ideas, you're like, do you like this idea? And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And like, I don't have ideas. Like, I can write songs, but I don't have like these ideas that you have. And you have so much drive to do them.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, like, how we need to be with someone who gets us to the paper.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I don't have drive. I have ideas, no drive.
And but Jade has, like, both of those.
Right.
Like, and you need friends like that too. You need friends that could be like, hey, I have this idea. Want to do it? Oh my gosh, yes, right. I do want to do that. You know, like, you're a leader to yourself, but also to others.
Well, thank you. Behind that drive, though, is my husband. He is definitely one of those guys too. And also behind that drive is a lot of fear. I mean, it's hard. Like, I have a lot of doubts about myself still. It's not like something that I'm just, like, fearless and I'm out there and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take on the world. Like, I have so many insecurities and stuff. So there's all that behind it too. But just to pull myself down.
Wouldn't that be amazing
reality.
to just have no fear?
It would.
Like, how do we do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
They say if you stay in the present moment, you can have no fear because you're just in the present moment. So maybe let's try that.
That's so hard with a child, though. Do you know how
so hard? I know.
That's something that
it's like impossible.
It's something that I try to check in with myself every day, is to stay in this present moment with her, because that's when the anxiety takes over if you're not.
Right.
And it's so hard with a baby.
I know. It's so hard. Oh, gosh. Well, this was lovely.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. We talked about so many things that are a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Definitely.
And thanks for, like, being able to be open enough to talk about that with us.
Well, you guys are awesome, and it's really easy to talk to you, so thank you for being you.
Oh, thanks, Jade. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Next week, we're talking about me. I'm scared about it.
I'm excited because I don't know very much about you, Carly, so I'm really excited to get to learn about you. I have a lot of questions. I've been writing them down throughout the week whenever I'm like, oh my gosh, thinking about something that I want to ask you.
I'm even more nervous.
No. It'll be easy.
But
So go to our Facebook page, join, talk to us, go follow us on Instagram, rate, subscribe.
Yes, please.
All the things. Yeah.
Share.
And then, share.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
guys.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.